do Prince Harry and Meghan Markle do all day? I don't know, and I don't think really anybody does, because the couple seems to have no career direction. Their stated path when they first initiated Megxit was to do this half-in, half-out thing where they would be part-time working for the monarchy, getting all the perks, all the travels, all the pomp and circumstance that comes with being royalty, while at the same time living a flashy Hollywood lifestyle. Well, when the royal family shut the door in their face on that proposal, the couple seemed to have little to no direction. They said they were going to be producers, that flopped, podcasters, that flopped, so many other things that have just cratered, and it just doesn't seem like the couple has any objective or any job to speak of. That's what I thought as I saw Harry attending the Grand Prix in Austin on Sunday. He has every right to attend the Grand Prix, of course he does, no flack off in there, but I just couldn't help but think as well, what is he doing? What is his job? Because they don't seem to have any. And that's a huge, huge problem for them as they continue to go down this Hollywood train wreck, is that you need to have an actual job. You need to have something you can tell people, I do X. But Harry and Meghan don't do X, they don't do Y, they don't do Z, they don't seem to do any letter of the alphabet except for endlessly pontificate and have just ceremonial roles that they can trot out every once in a while. And this is, again, going to be catastrophic for them going forward, because when it comes to real life and royalty, yes, you can have a job that is royal, which is not really as discernible or tangible as some jobs in the world. But when you're out of that bubble, you actually need to have a path. You can't just stand there, tell us you're all royal, that we should listen to you, and then not actually do anything. So we are going to talk a little bit about this today and the concept of duty, because I think that's what Harry and Meghan have missed about Her Majesty's legacy, is this sense and obligation of duty to your country. Duty that requires something that Harry, and especially now Meghan, never ever wants to do. And that sacrifice your ideas, your goals, your perspectives in order to serve the greater good. But Harry and Meghan at the heart of it are exceptionally selfish people. So we are going to talk about this today because I think this is a very important topic. And we also have a giveaway, which I will tell you about later. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary here about the latest news and sometimes the things going on behind the scenes. And I tried to give you guys some examples and just really analyze what is going on within the royal sphere. So if you guys are interested in that, I would love for you to subscribe. I'm really hoping to get to 150,000 subscribers by the end of this year. We just crossed the 131 threshold. So that is very, very exciting. I also have a newsletter, a fashion channel that's dedicated all to royalty. And I also have a membership. So if you're interested in getting more behind the scenes things, I have a video I need to work on, and we will be doing a live stream this week. That's right. Feel free to check that out as well. And as you guys will have noticed the last couple of weeks, I have been wearing all of my Ana Lucia jewelry. They are one of the sponsors of this program, and we have a giveaway related to that. So this will be the Limitless bracelet, and it is very pretty. I've been loving all of my Ana Lucia jewelry. Like, my ring is just the prettiest. It's really, really pretty. And I just love all the sparkle that I get from it, especially the stud earrings. I'm not wearing them today. I'm wearing my Limitless dangly earrings, but I enjoy wearing the studs because there's something I can wear every day. I can sleep in them, I can shower in them, and they don't really get tarnished or anything, because that's something I've been looking for a really, really long time. So if you're interested in winning the bracelet, the contest ends on the 31st, and you will be limited to, I think, 2 videos, one here, and if you want an extra vote, one on the fashion channel as well. And so it'll be on this video, so you just need to put in a little diamond emoji and then share with me what your favorite piece of royal jewelry or tiara is, because I'd love to hear. And if it's not quite royal, but it is a gorgeous tiara, we will go ahead and accept, but try to stick to royalty. If you can't, I'd love to hear what are your guys' favorite tiaras. And then based on that, maybe I'll go ahead and do a fashion channel video related to that particular tiara if I haven't done one already. And so when we have Tiara Tuesday video, which should be up tomorrow, but circumstances may define that. But there will be an opportunity there on that as well. And then I'll also have a way to enter via the newsletter. So if you are interested in the newsletter, link will be down below. It's via Substack. So if you're interested in there, so you'll just have to utilize this video, the tiara video, and the newsletter, and you can get potentially 3 entries. And at the end of the month, I will go ahead and pick a winner. And I will have a second place prize. Hold on one minute. I forgot about that. For second place, I've been holding on to this for just a little bit, but you will get a Whitter's Hot Chocolate sampler pack, which will be awesome. I drink Whitter's Hot Chocolate all the time, especially on Saturday mornings on my live stream, which is at 10 a.m. if you're interested. And also, this Radley bag I got from the Coronation. It says Coronation 2023 on the back. I got this in London, I believe at the Buckingham Palace shop. I got one there and then one somewhere else. I can't quite remember. But anyways, I thought these were amazing. I just think they're so, so cute. They have the little dog going up, and they have the Union Jack. So if you're interested in these items, they will be the second place prize. So that is something for you to look forward to as well. I mean, I obviously know it doesn't sparkle like a diamond, but, and Ana Lucia diamonds are lab created diamonds. I should have mentioned that. But yes, you will get something very cool as well that I hope you also enjoy for the second place prize. And another royal news, we also have Princess Leonor, the Princess of Asturias, over there in Spain, and she recently held the Princess Asturias Award. So this is something her parents started, and now she continues because her parents are obviously now the king and queen. And one of the winners this year was actually Meryl Streep. And royalty broke Hollywood news, I think, because Meryl Streep went there and accepted the award, and the day after or that day, she announced that she and her husband had been separated for like 6 years. So apparently the Will and Jada Smith thing is apparently spreading, and other celebrities have been separated for many years and don't tell anybody. Who knows, maybe that'll happen with Harry and Meghan. We'll find out, yeah, we split like in 2021. We're still together for a while. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But anyways, so we do have that exciting little bit there. And as she heads towards her 18th birthday, which is October 31st, she'll be doing more and more in these engagements. In addition to doing her military training, I don't know if the military training, she can also do some university credits with that as well. It'll all sort of depend. Spain's sort of an interesting situation because many young royals do some type of military service. We've seen this with Princess Elizabeth in Belgium, and now Princess Leonor in Spain, and obviously Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Philip in Sweden. We also have Ingrid Alexandra in Norway. Many of them do some sort of military service or training, but Leonor is actually in the academy, I think, for about 3 years. So she's doing some very, very serious training. But in terms of monarchy stability, Spain is probably the weakest out of our modern monarchies. So I think they do even more oftentimes to make sure that they hit all the marks that they're supposed to. And Spain usually does more engagements than any other country. We also have King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima of the Netherlands wrapped up their recent trip to South Africa. We got some great looks from Queen Maxima. No tiara, unfortunately, because Maxima is one of my favorite ladies to watch for tiaras. She always brings out the big guns. They always look fantastic. And so it was just a little bit disappointing that we didn't have that, but I really love this sparkly burnt orange number from her here. I thought this looked particularly lovely because Maxima's fashion is sort of hit and miss. On day to day, it could sometimes almost lean into the scary realm, but other times it looks absolutely lovely. So it's great to see Maxima looking fantastic. And Catherine and William are currently on the fall break with their children, so we really haven't seen them the past week or so, but we have gotten a couple of videos from their social media, which I think is a great thing for them to do. It just keeps them in the public eye and it keeps the public aware of them even as they take steps back. Because sometimes, especially during the summer, sometimes it can seem like long stretches where we don't get anything from them, which I think is sort of a mistake on their part. That's why we got sort of the controversy surrounding William's decision not to attend the Women's World Cup event. I think that was sort of ended up being a bit of a PR blunder from their team. But I think these videos just make it seem like they're still working, they're still out and about, but they are taking some time away from their children. Because I will say Catherine and William have been exceptionally busy this year, especially this fall. They've been very, very busy. So that has been really amazing to see. And obviously in November, we have a couple of things. We had the Earthshot Prize, obviously, in Singapore, and we also have the state visit from South Korea and the opening of Parliament. So obviously, William will be gone during the opening of Parliament, but it's entirely possible Catherine will go and sit there for this first ceremonial event in place of her husband. She doesn't have to go because Charles didn't start attending until about 10, 20 years ago. But I think it would be good for Catherine and William to both start attending because Charles is getting up there. He's in his mid-70s at this point, and I think it's smart for them to be even more aware of these things than they were because they may get elevated sooner than they might think. So that leads us to a very exciting November. We also have state visit between Spain and Denmark. And so we'll have just a lot of tiara events going on. So hopefully we'll do a couple of tiara live streams to see what the royal ladies are wearing, because that is one of my favorite things, is to look at the tiaras. So anyways, guys, let's get back over to sort of the main story here, which is about Harry and Meghan's seemingly utter lack of direction and the concept, the real concept of duty. Because I think this is very, very important, because one is all about selfish desire, greed, and hedonism compared with duty, service, sacrifice, which is what royalty is. Royalty is all about sacrifice, duty, obligations that sometimes you don't want to do, but you do it because it serves a greater good. And yes, sometimes you do events you don't really want to do, and sometimes you do events you really want to do. But I'm sure oftentimes it's more in the middle where it's like, well, this is interesting, but it's not super exciting. And royals have this thing too, where when they go to an event, they are on. There are cameras everywhere. Everybody's looking for the slightest imperfection. They must think about their speech in every single conversation. Did I say something wrong? Could I have offended somebody? It's a very, very complex world. And I think Her Majesty the Queen exemplified this completely. She was all about duty, because I don't think Her Majesty the Queen would have enjoyed, obviously Majesty Queen Elizabeth was really excited about becoming queen at 25 in an age where women were still somewhat looked down upon in many ways. Obviously, there had been many English queens throughout history, but she came up in a time where very much men were leading the charge in terms of politics. And so she came up in this world and she had this sudden elevation. She was not expecting her father to die quite so young. And so she had to take on all these duties and obligations as the mother of 2 young children. And I'm sure she did not get to spend as much time with them as she wanted to. And that did create a bit of a divide, I think, between Her Majesty and her 2 older children for at least part of their lives. I think they very much reconciled towards the end of her life, but I think there was some tension there that was always underlying, because Her Majesty got to spend much more time with Andrew and Edward, and that was about a decade after her reign. And not to mention the fact Her Majesty the Queen never retired. She worked until literally almost the last day of her life. She was working at 96. I don't know about you, but I don't see very many 96-year-olds still working. Many of them can't, either for physical reasons or health reasons, or they just aren't simply here anymore. But Her Majesty understood that when it came to royalty, yes, there are some generous perks, but there are also things you have to sacrifice about yourself, sacrifice about your own dreams in order to fulfill this sense of duty and obligation. And sometimes people don't like that, because we are all wanting to pursue our own dreams and ventures. But oftentimes too, we have to recognize and realize that sometimes we just don't get to do everything we want in life. And I think there's certain benefits and growth that come with fulfilling what you are obligated to fulfill. Doing the things you don't necessarily want to do, but are part of the life that you've been given. Because we all have different obligations in our lives, family, friends, work, all these sorts of things that are different, I think, between each individual person. And royalty has a very weird role to fill, because they are government officials and yet they are not government officials. They must act on behalf of the government with the power of the government, yet at the same time they can't enact any policies. They can't really have any true change in terms of the direction of the country. I mean, they can gently share their thoughts and opinions, but this is very much run by Parliament, but yet they're held to the same or even higher standards than Parliament in terms of what they're allowed to do. And when it comes to the system itself, there's obviously a hierarchy. The higher up you are in the line of succession determines what you can do in terms of your royal role. You get more things here, less things here. Obviously, Catherine and William will get to do more than Edward and Sophie. Catherine and William get more attention than Edward and Sophie. And though I think the King Charles probably wants a lot more attention to be on him, most of it is focused on Catherine and William. And because it's a hierarchy and because it's birth order, you can't determine any of that. So there is a underlying unfairness to it just because of an accident of birth, even though you could potentially be a better leader. Let's say in the case of Anne, she should be, in terms of the hierarchy, higher up in many ways. In terms of the line of succession, she shouldn't have been bumped down by her brothers, but she was. And she doesn't complain about it. She doesn't moan about it. She just gets on with life. She has accepted her role in the world, and she's wanting to do it to the best of her abilities. And I think that's exemplary. You see the love, appreciation, and respect for Anne throughout the UK. She doesn't get a lot of attention. She's not flashy, but she does the work. She does it with gusto, and she does it with a sense of, I'm fulfilling a broader purpose here. And what's interesting to consider as well is I was talking on Twitter about how Charlotte and Louis, there was I think a sense, a thought at some point that they would not be working royals, but no, they will have to be working royals. You can't get around Charlotte and Louis not being working royals with their spouses. Even some of their kids may be elevated into the fold, because right now most of the working royals, if you take out the average, it's like in their mid-60s, early 60s. And so Catherine and William are by far the youngest, in their 40s. Edward and Sophie are in their 50s, I think both approaching 60 now. And so Catherine and William really are the youngest within this royal sphere. And because of that, once Catherine and William become king and queen, I think most of the old guard by that point will be gone. Charles and Camilla, you have the Duke of Kent, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, you have potentially even Princess Anne, obviously Princess Alexandra of Kent. And so you have all these groups of people. It'll be just basically William, Catherine, George, and whoever George's spouse is. So this idea that just 4 people can work throughout the UK and do all the royal duties and roles that are required of them is just not possible. And so I suggested and said, Charlotte and Louis will definitely be working royals. And some people are like, oh, how dare you determine a child's future and destiny? It's like, no, I don't think that's the way to look at it, because yes, I'm sure she'll have dreams and stuff, and perhaps she can fulfill those dreams within the royal sphere. But at the same time too, sometimes duty comes into play as well. And I think for the general human experience, I think it's good to have things sometimes you are forced to do that you don't necessarily want to do. I think that builds character, because sometimes, yes, you can fulfill the dreams and do all the things you want to do, but also times too, life is real. There are certain things you have to do in life. And I can't think of a job more satisfying and interesting and historical than being a royal. Why would you want to be, let's say, a marketing executive when you can be royalty? I don't think really there will be much between Charlotte and Louis going, yeah, you know what? I just want to be Joe Blow in an office building. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some thoughts that maybe that would be cool, but in reality, you can't do anything better really than royalty in some ways. And I think Charlotte and Louis will both be exemplary working royals, because I think their parents will help them understand that yes, maybe you don't get everything you want to do, but when you look at life instead of half empty, half full, you can get a greater fulfillment, I think, through doing all these royal duties than you can to fulfilling your own desires and going down the path basically of hedonistic self-indulgent, which is what Harry and Meghan have done. Instead of exemplifying duty and service, which royals are supposed to do, it is all about their selfish desire to make as much money as humanly possible. The problem is that they don't seem to know how to do that. And they don't seem to have any just general work-related goals, really, which has been startling when you think about it, because these two people decided, hey, we're going to initiate Megxit. And you know what? We're going to tell the royal family. We're going to tell the royal family how it's going to work. So we're going to, on our website, which is still up, by the way, somebody asked me at some point, why is the Sussex Royal still up? SussexRoyal.com, which you can go and look at. You can go in the Wayback Machine also as well and look at the original when they launched it and see some of the wording there. But when you look at that website though, they lay out exactly what they want. But they had no leverage to do that. They had no leverage to do that whatsoever, because Harry was a spare. And again, royal life to a certain extent is unfair based on your birth order. There's nothing you can do to change that except for some very, very dark actions if you wanted to go down that path. So the future really was William and his children. William had 3 children by now. At that point, when Harry and Meghan initiated it, I think they thought that, well, the royal family will want us because Meghan is a mixed race, ergo she will be absolutely 100%, they won't want to lose her. But the royals are like, you know what, you guys have been more trouble than you're worth, so yeah, we're just gonna let you go. And then Harry and Meghan, I think although Meghan to a certain extent desired at least some more of that freedom, she doesn't seem to have any direction now, because they've tried a couple things and none of it has gone well. And I feel like Harry especially has no job. This guy has no job, nothing going on except for having a ceremonial role as the head of the Invictus Games and the, Chief Impact Officer, a better up. That's all this guy can put on his resume. He did write a memoir, which was written by somebody else. And I don't feel like that's really a job because you're writing a memoir. That's not a job, that's somebody else's job. Your job is just to share your sob stories about remembering your mother and her Elizabeth Arden cream while you rubbed lotion on your nether regions. Thanks, Harry. We really, really needed to know that bad. We really needed to know that. And then we also had the reality TV show, which was a success. Yes, a lot of people watched it, but did it make them look better in the public eye? No, not really. And then Harry's other job he seems to have is to be trying to sue the papers into oblivion. Has that stopped any of the negative stories about him and Meghan Markle? No. So has any of this been successful for him? I would argue that none of it really has been that successful for him. Yes, he's made some money, but are his long-term prospects good? No. And that's why I think it's a mistake to show up in Austin, Texas at the Grand Prix. Because all it reminds me about him is that he has no direction, he has no job, and so he can just flit about wherever he wants to because this guy has no direction in his life. And unfortunately for Harry and Meghan, you could sort of do that when you're a working royal to a certain extent because you have a job. You're working to a certain extent for the monarchy and by extension for the government. That is sort of what they do. And so Harry could do something like that from time to time. But now is he hobnobbing with people? Is he trying to get work? Because he doesn't have anything lined up. I mean, Harry and Meghan have acquired a book via Netflix. Netflix purchased the rights to this book so they could control it, so they could pull it from Harry and Meghan if need be. And so Harry and Meghan are supposedly working on this project. They can get writers on it now, but they can't get actors because no actors are negotiating or anything because of the actor strike, which may not end until the end of this year. And Harry couldn't get a podcast together. Apparently he tried, but one of the guys from Spotify who was working with him basically called him an idiot and said, I could not help this guy. He is so dumb, basically is what he said. And he's mentioned that there's like a longer story there, which would be fascinating to listen to. But Harry had these like weird ideas about bringing Vladimir Putin on to talk about his childhood traumas. I'm like, dude, that's not what dictators talk about. They don't talk about their childhood traumas, buddy. And so he had all these strange desires and directions that he wanted to take it. And everybody at Spotify was like, no, you don't really seem to have any idea. And so I feel like Harry is very much floundering. He loves the Invictus Games, but he's allowed Meghan Markle to turn it into the Harry and Meghan show. Well, really the Meghan and Harry show. And it's become about her fashion. It's not become about the troops or anything. I think interest in it broadly is waning. I think there's a lot of interest via the troops, but there is nothing to make money from at the Invictus Games. I don't see any merch selling. I don't see any tickets being sold because Amazon covered it. So basically this whole thing is being propped up at this point by corporate donations and government perhaps funding in some locations, because it sounds like the city of Vancouver is the one who is actually funding the Invictus Games. And that does happen with the Olympics, but the Olympics brings in millions of people, millions if not billions of viewers. Nobody is watching the Invictus Games. So there is no money to be made from it. So how can this guy make money? There's literally no money to be made. And so he has no role. Better Up has gone through all sorts of problems. The coaches are frustrated. They have some sort of deal with the Invictus Games, which they piggybacked obviously off of Harry, but it just doesn't even seem to have any direction or any place to go. And so Harry really is floundering. He has nothing. He has no direction. And so he's basically acting like a celebrity going around to this event for no discernible purpose. Yes, maybe somebody paid him to show up so they could get some pictures of him, but he's not the draw anymore. Yes, Harry and Meghan get a lot of attention, a lot of noise, but it's never good. It's never converting to anything. Now, I will say when it comes to the work issue, Meghan's a little slightly better here. And that's because Meghan at least had a podcast. It flopped. It was bad, but at least she had something. So she at least got something out of the deal with Spotify. But she's been pretty directionless too. She has really nothing going on. She endlessly pontificates at different events her and Harry manage to wiggle their way into, and they have no discernible impact on anything. I just even think of their Archwell recent report that they did on the dangers of social media, and they didn't promote it at all, because the thing is with Harry and Meghan in the world and the way that they're doing things is that they need to actually promote things. They are a business. They're not royals anymore. They continue to manage whatever assets and limited skills they have, trying to be royal when they're not royal anymore. And because of that, when you release this report, well, who cares? I haven't seen anything coming from this at all. And I don't think anything will, because nobody cares. And I didn't read through very much of it. It looks very generic and banal to me for the most part, and things where it's like it's totally there to service Harry and Meghan and their ideals and not the broader public. But if they were going to hold this event in New York City that they did about mental health, they should have come there, shown the report, and told people to go to their website and look at it. They didn't do that. They sat in their chairs, they endlessly pontificated nonsense. Meghan made her allusion to the internet in the car, which is not in any way comparable in terms of safety. Nothing whatsoever. And because of that, all the attention went to Harry and Meghan, but it did not go to the parents whose children have been dramatically impacted by cyberbullying and the dangers of the internet that do very much exist. And so they released this report to crickets because they had no desire to actually promote the report. And so I feel like so much of this is driven by Meghan, and so she claims to have all these grand ideals, and yet she's not doing the bare bones basic things to make those things happen. She's doing absolutely nothing to justify their existence, the existence of Archwell, and the things that she's supposedly trying to do. And again, yes, they have the book that they can adapt, but Meghan has no skills as a producer at all. She's shown no interest in that previously in her acting role, because good actors, good creatives, yes, they start out maybe acting, but they're like, hey, I want to direct. I want to help with the script here. I have some ideas. Can I incorporate these? As they get more comfortable on a show that went on as long as Suits, they encourage changes in their character. They work behind the scenes. If they are very, very dedicated to this idea of artistry within the craft of movie making and television making. Meghan has exemplified none of that. I think the only change that she made to her character is, number one, it was basically her. It was basically her in a lot of ways. And they let her keep her clothes on a bit more after she demanded that. But those things always irk me, because it's like, well, I got to keep my clothes on more now. And it's like, well, you didn't have to take them off to begin with. You could have just said no. you wanted that attention, then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, it's they're oh, what is the word there? They're sexualizing me. And I'm like, well, you let yourself be that. Why are you complaining now? All of a sudden you don't. Anyways, so I think Meghan in this space is she has nothing. And so I think that's why we see her hanging around the Beverly Hills Hotel, probably hustling to get some attention from producers, directors, actors, what have you, is because she has nothing to show for anything that they're doing. And I think Hollywood broadly is aware of their ineptitude. I think they're very, very aware of how inept Harry and Meghan are. They're completely and utterly aware of it, because you just don't see people coming to their defense anymore. You don't see people just lavishing at their feet. You don't see them getting these mega deals. Meghan Markle lost Harry and Meghan's Spotify. Yes, Harry contributed by not producing anything, but Meghan was the one who really lost it, because if she had a powerhouse of a podcast, they would have kept her. They dropped her, and she has nothing. No single organization, no single company has picked up Archetypes, to the point where she's had to drop the trademark. Why? Because nobody wanted it, because it was crap. It was a boring, dull podcast that added nothing to the conversation, and she was exceptionally difficult to work for, and that got around Hollywood. And other companies are like, I don't want to deal with that, because A, it didn't even get the numbers it should have, and why would I pay more? Because I'm sure she was asking for more for something that failed. And when it comes to the WME thing, so this is William Morrison Endeavor, the talent agency she signed up with, as far as we know, they've gotten her nothing. And I'm sure she's working on her Instagram. And I believe this is her Instagram, because it's been talked about numerous times that it is her Instagram, and nobody has challenged that claim. I'm sure her team, if that wasn't hers, they would let people know it was not hers. So last time I saw it was sitting at 128,000 followers on Instagram, and obviously there's nothing there. And I'm sure she's waiting to launch something, but it's almost gone too long because you kind of generated interest and then you didn't keep the train going. It kind of fell off the cliff. And so it's like, well, where's this whole Goop thing that she's supposedly trying to get together? Because I think the big problem with that too is that Goop's been done. So how can Meghan make it better? I don't know if she can. She doesn't really have the appeal to the general public. Not even that Gwyneth Paltrow does really, but Gwyneth has this very, I don't know what you could say it. I mean, she's an Academy Award winning actress and she has this long history within Hollywood with her family and everything. So she has, I think, a greater interest than Meghan Markle in a lot of ways. Meghan Markle, yes, she is a royal, but Meghan's mirror, which was started supposedly on her behalf, just doesn't seem to be going anywhere at all. I think that thing is totally stuck in second gear because Meghan left her life as royalty and nobody really cares that much about her fashion. I don't think anything is really selling out that she wears because nobody's that interested because A, she makes it look bad, and sometimes it's way too expensive. And so when it comes to Meghan's future, what does she have? She doesn't have a job either. She doesn't seem to do anything. And so what do Harry and Meghan do all day? Well, I have maybe one idea. I think what they do is they spend some time with their kids, then they let their nannies spend more time with the kids. And then they sit around talking about how everybody hates them online and how to make themselves look better to the public. Because Harry and Meghan are all about their hedonistic self-desires. They have no desire to change the world. They have no desire to better the world. All they want to do is uplift themselves. They exemplify none of the characteristics of Her Majesty the Queen or many other working members of the royal family in the UK and across Europe, which is about duty, sacrifice, and service. And those are characteristics and qualities that Harry and Meghan can never exemplify because they're all in it for their own material gain. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, and I look forward to seeing you guys again so soon. Bye.